Thank you to Blackology Coffee Company for sponsoring this video. Take 10% off your next order at Blackology Coffee Company by using the link in the description, www.blackologycoffeecompany.com/Angela.
I started at 19. I was always very entrepreneurial. I was a hard worker in anything I always did, but I was always building someone else's dream, right? And not my own dream. So I really had to, my goal was to find something that I could build long lasting. Since I was always really entrepreneur, I loved people. I loved to help people. We had always been working volunteer work for the past 10 years. So people and then helping people was really involved with me. So I was, I'm looking for a business, but what happens, Angela, as you know, most businesses to start, at least in the US, right? Most businesses, the startup cost sometimes is $5,000 to $10,000, okay? And that's with so much risk, as you know, okay? Mm-hmm. At 19, I probably had $50 on my name. You're following me? So that was the first struggle. And the second struggle is, okay, I want to start a business, but what do I sell? How do I help people? So this was my struggle for a while. And then in all this process, my mother gets sick. She gets an illness. She gets lupus. She gets chronic fatigue. She has no energy. She's in bed. Literally from being super active in business, super active in volunteer work, from that to the bed with no energy for like a whole year. And that was kind of that was the journey, right? Of looking and finding and obsessing a little bit on finding, because when we would go to a natural doctor, we wouldn't find results. When we would go to a conventional doctor, they would say, hey, what she has is psychological. And that was what would happen for all those months. And it turns out that she had lupus, right? And then she had this horrible chronic fatigue. And all this process, Angela, to make the story short, someone tells us about this product from Canada. Says, hey, look, there's this product from Canada. It's this and this and that. And like 95% of the whole world, a little closed-minded, but we said, hey, you know what? It's okay to doubt, but it's not okay to not at least check it out. And that's what, and that's what we did. And what I remember is that, in a very bad financial situation, we got it for her. And a week later, Angela, this was when we used to live in Jacksonville, Florida. I wake up a Sunday morning and I see her cleaning and reorganizing the kitchen. And with so much energy, and I asked her, Mom, well, what happened? She says, this product, ma'am. She puts the box in front of me. I said, it's this stuff? She says, yeah. Absolutely, you can. And that's what happened, after her story, the whole family started consuming it just because of her story. And then later on, okay, we had seen the results of this product on her. Someone had invited me to a seminar on, just going a little bit deeper on the science and medical part of this project. So I remember I said, hey, let's go. I went with my suit, with my notebook, let's go get this. And in that day, my mother and I made decisions. We said, you know what? This is something not only that we love and that we're raving fan on this is going to be our project. And, to work this together and help a lot of people. So since that day, that was November of 2016, we made the decision to work together and be entrepreneurs. And we've helped over 3,000 people with the immune system and with this product. And our company sells almost $2 million per year. So that's my story.
I want to dive a little bit deeper into one, like how you went from, just 19-year-old kid who's just trying to navigate life and, help your mom. And, then you got turned on to this product and you're selling, X amount of units per year, which is an incredible, journey over, just the course of something completely random that happens in life, a medical diagnosis, to now, how you are young. You're about my age. I'm 27, right? You're out of Atlanta, incredible city, lots of opportunities. How you kind of navigate this entrepreneurial space being so young? How has that experience been for you?
Well, it's been amazing. And because of my journey in entrepreneurship, I obviously became, I'm obsessed with podcasts, learning with podcast listening. And a good mentor of mine, his name is Eric Worre, who's just amazing entrepreneur. He's always asking the question, are entrepreneurs born or are they made? And that's always his topic. And for the longest time, Angela, I would always say that they were born, they weren't made. And then at times I would say, no, they're made, they're born. And then so recently I kind of stopped and I started thinking, I said, what made me become an entrepreneur? When a lot of people want to become entrepreneurs, but they don't because they may be scared, or they just have the idea and just kind of fade away. So I was thinking, I'm like, what made me become an entrepreneur? And the two conclusions that I really came up to was because most entrepreneurs, to not say 100% of them, think really big and have a very, very big desire. And I came to that conclusion because, when I was young, it's not like I was this, kid selling Kool-Aid at 5 years old. That wasn't me, honestly. I would love to tell you that, I've always been that entrepreneur. It's not true. But I always had this big thinking, if I was in school studying, I was daydreaming, okay, how can I own this school? How can I own lots of schools? Okay. And I know that's part of the entrepreneurial thinking. I always had this big desire on, okay, how can I do this? They're doing it. What can I do? And this was me since I was little. Where did I get this from, Angela? I have no idea. Truly, I have no idea. But I've noticed when talking to entrepreneurs, all of them have this big thinking and they have this huge desire to accomplish something. So I would say definitely that's been something in the journey that I've learned that's been fascinating for me.
Yeah, that's really interesting that you say that. So I didn't get into podcasts so much as I got into YouTube. Kind of later on, I would say like high school, college time frame, I was really big into YouTube. And of course, like right now, the YouTuber that's big is like the photographer, filmmaker type trope, right? So that's like a huge area of the YouTube market. People who are into tech, cameras, gear, stuff like that. And so, of course, like it's a business, right? Like people that do YouTube full time, they still have to get their bills paid. They still have to put food on the table. So like I learned a little bit more about the creative business from that aspect. But again, it wasn't something I even allowed myself to think about until I myself picked up a camera, right? And then I was like, okay, where is this going? What do I really want out of this? And so thinking big, I think, is definitely a big requirement. I think it's so scary sometimes. And it's like, it's a catch-22. Like either you could think big and you could think, yes, I had this desire to achieve it, or you could think big and think that's too big for me, which is the wrong thought to have,
Absolutely.
Yeah, which is crazy. So like for you, I mean, like I'm sure at some point you knew you wanted to own something and build something in your own name. You maybe never imagined you'd be building this much, but you knew that you wanted to get there, right? So what can you tell people about kind of just walking in that big dream, walking in that big goal for people who may be scared right now, especially because even post-pandemic, they're like, yo, I got $50 to my name. Like, I got to make this work. Like, but I want to build something for myself. What would your advice to them be?
I know. This is getting really good. But I just wanted to take a minute to say thank you. Thank you so much for watching and listening to the show. Whether you're a day one fan or day 100 fan, I'm so glad that you found Honey and Hustle and have decided to stick along for the ride. As a thank you, I wanted to give you a little gift that this show has so graciously given me. The ability to continue to connect with thought leaders, industry leaders, business owners, and other entrepreneurs no matter where I am. Link offers a digital business card that is a natural extension of my website and social media platforms that allows me to easily send people to strategic landing pages so they can learn a little bit more about me, the resources I offer, and how we can continue to stay connected. When you click the link below in the description, you'll get 15% off any of their wearables, phone taps, and hopefully the last physical business card you'll ever need. When you do this, I get a little percentage back at no extra cost to you, which helps me continue to host guests and industry leaders so they can give you advice and help you crush the hustle. Thank you so much again for supporting the show and our show sponsor, Link. All right, let's get back into it.
Well, you know what? When 2020, when this whole pandemic situation started, I remember my family and I were talking. It's like, well, what's going to happen to the business? Will it go lower? Will it go higher? Okay. And of course, we help people with the immune system, which was great because we were able to help so many more people in 2020 because of the whole pandemic. With that in mind, I remember telling the fam and everybody, I said, you know what? I said, this might be probably our best opportunity ever in business. I said, and I think two things are going to happen in 2020. A lot of businesses are going to go down, unfortunately. but a lot of businesses are going to go up. That's exactly what happened. There's an entrepreneur called Gian-Carlo, a multi-billionaire, and he said that. And please, for the ones that are listening, watching, don't exactly quote me on the exact amount, but I think 20 to 30% of all of the money printed in the past 100 years in the US, 30% of that money was printed in 2020. There was actually more money printed in 2020, in the year 2020, than for the past 15 years. So what does that mean? That despite the worldwide situation that we're going through, there's actually more money than ever. But you have to have this in your mind before you become an entrepreneur, right? Because whenever you become an entrepreneur, you're going to become an entrepreneur depending on the circumstances of your time, right? So if you're thinking fear-based, we're in the pandemic, there's no money, everybody's unemployed, you're not going to start. You're not going to start. And even if you do start, you might not be successful because you're making a decision based on fear, right? So you have to be so careful on the story you're telling yourself or the story that people are telling you. Okay, because the reality is there a chronic situation out there? Absolutely. I'm not hiding that fact. I know there is, and that's why contribution for me is so important. And the money I make, contribution is so important for me. Okay, so I'm not going against that. There's a crisis out there, but there's also the other side of the coin. There's more opportunity than ever, and there's actually more money than ever. For example, you have to figure out also where if you want to become a business owner. You also have to think about what's the best business, not only that fits my talent, but the best business in which I can help people. So for example, you have companies like Sony, right? Sony for the longest time was almost about to go bankrupt, but they were smart. They kept creating devices, and then last year they created the PS5. Now you would think about it, wait a second, PS5, a $500 console, $400 to $500, who's going to buy it in the pandemic? Well, guess what? Since it came out, nobody can buy it. I mean, it's always sold out. Why? Sony was smart. They released this console in the pandemic where everybody's home and everybody's getting stimulus checks. So Sony's actually making more money than ever. Why? They were smart. They saw the opportunity. That's the kind of mindset you want to have when becoming an entrepreneur. So my message for everybody that wants to become an entrepreneur now is, first of all, have courage. Okay, courage means that even though you're scared, you still do it. Have courage for sure, and work on yourself. It's 80% mindset and 20% mechanics. I'm convinced. I thought this was kind of cliche in the beginning. This is not a cliche. 80% is mindset and entrepreneurship. 20% is mechanics. Okay, so work on yourself, work on your mindset, invest in yourself. Like I would say in the first 5 years, 4 years, the most important investment after your business is yourself. You're such an important investment. Okay, and as an entrepreneur, you have to feed your mind with strategies. You have to think differently. Okay, if you're an employee and you want to become an entrepreneur, congratulations. But you can't expect to be a successful entrepreneur thinking like an employee. Okay, and both are super honorable. Okay, being an employee is super honorable, being an entrepreneur is super honorable. But you have to be clear. If I'm going to become an entrepreneur, I have to change my mindset. So be courageous, invest in yourself, and find a business that not only your talents are used at its max, but that you can help a lot of people. That would be my ultimate message for anybody that wants to become an entrepreneur.
Yeah, I really like that. And like going back to just like the stories that you tell yourself and the stories that other people are telling, it's narrative, right? It's like whatever narrative you adopt is the narrative you're going to operate in. So if you operate from the narrative of abundance and excitement and potential and all these other things, when you're going just straight out of the gate as an entrepreneur, you're not going to think about, well, what if this fails? You're not going to think about, well, the odds are stacked against me, or this isn't a good time. You're going to be thinking like, the only way to go is up, right?
Yes.
No matter what the circumstances look like, right? Pandemic or not. And I just think that's so important to consider because, I mean, like in any field, I think common things that I hear from people are, well, there's already 100 people doing this. The market is already saturated for what I want to do or what I'm good at or what I'm passionate about. And it's like, well, it's not saturated with you, You're not
100%. 100%, and if you think about it, technically speaking, everything's saturated. Technically speaking, like everything. I mean, there's like, for example, fast food restaurants. right? If Burger King, these companies said, you know what, I'm not creating fast food because McDonald's exists. No, they didn't think that. And technically they sell the same thing, burgers and fries, right? But they knew what they could give. And guess what? Burger King is a multi-billion-dollar company, just like McDonald's. Yeah, McDonald's is bigger for sure. But if Burger King would have had the mindset of, there's already a burger and fries place, I'm not going to create it. There's 100,000 McDonald's. No, they didn't. They didn't. So, and they still became a billion-dollar company. So just kind of emphasizing what you're saying. Absolutely. This whole saturated mentality really is just, it's a scarcity mindset. That's all it is. And that's probably the most important thing you have to work on as an entrepreneur. Think in an abundance mindset for sure.
Mm-hmm. You talked about getting yourself in the right mindset and having to think differently if you are making the transition from being an employee or a worker and transitioning to building your own thing, right?
Yep.
So besides podcasts, what are some things that you have done to, one, invest in yourself, invest in your mindset, to continue to grow and learn how to be the best entrepreneur that you can be and serve people in the best way that you can?
Yeah. So events, specific events that are about personal development or about business. Okay. And before it was live events, right? Now it's Zoom events, right? Or online events. Events, what I've seen, Angela, is that they make you think so much bigger because you experience events. Okay. For example, in my industry, there's what's called the GoPro event. That's awesome that, the biggest entrepreneurs are together. They're giving you strategies, people that are earning incredible amounts of money, but that helped lots of people. So once you're around these people, your brain and your mindset starts to think about, wait a second, maybe I can do it. And your mind starts to think possibilities. Wow. Once your mind starts to think possibilities, whoa, your brain starts to expand. That's where you start to think bigger. So events in your industry or your niche. That's the first thing, okay? I can't give you a specific event because we're all in different businesses, but an event in your niche, definitely go there. That's where possibilities come. And you know what? To talk about, general events, I can even talk about events like Tony Robbins. Okay. He's kind of, I'm a general a little bit, and he brings the best entrepreneurs together. So in whatever business you are, Tony Robbins would actually be a good choice if you like him and you like his content. But that gives you an idea. Okay. Events and books. If you see, my room here, it's a mess. All books, always books, always books, always books, always reading. And I've made the decision to not be stingy with buying books. Like I'll be like 2-3 months ago, I spent almost $300 in books. This is part of who I am. This is part of my investment. It keeps me thinking, exercises my brain, makes me think possibilities. So events and books would definitely, apart from podcasts, help you to develop that mindset.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. I'm going to probably be the contrarian here and say I don't read as much as I probably should. I'm a big YouTuber. That's definitely a big one for me. Events have definitely helped. And I guess I shouldn't say I don't read. I just don't read traditional books like I used to. I think college kind of taught me of like reading for joy. So right now I'm definitely into like articles and stuff like that. I'll read the crap out of an article on my computer. Yep. We'll do that though.
No, and that's fine. I mean, I've learned lots of things through YouTube. I mean, and nowadays you can educate yourself however, like I'm just mentioning, right? Like what's helped me, like I'm a big reader, not in like things that aren't real, it's personal development, strategies, leadership. That for me is like candy, literally, because, and by the way, I wasn't like this either. I've had to exercise this. Okay, I've had to exercise it, but now I love it. It feels extremely weird if one day I'm not reading. It's just not, it's part of who I am, right? So, that's another thing. You have to develop this muscle. Now, if you're not a book reader so much, YouTube is fine. I mean, you can learn countless of things through YouTube. The whole point is educate yourself and have your mind experience possibilities.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. For people who may be like also thinking about that too, like, it's work. No matter what stage you're at, no matter what you're doing, educate yourself to grow, to network, to get better at whatever it is you do. Like, it takes time. You can't say that like you tried something if you only did it one time. That's like my biggest thing. People be like, oh, well, I tried. Let's say like some people want to get into Facebook ads as a marketing strategy. And I'm like, well, I tried one ad and I didn't get anything. It's like, one time, that's not trying something. You have to be consistent for it to work, whatever it is. You know what I mean? Because typically, like in every aspect of your business, anything can work for you if you're willing to be consistent at it enough to make it work for you, right? To
For sure.
learn it, to exercise that, to get better at it. That's just kind of how it goes with anything.
For sure. No, and you cannot become an entrepreneur and have the try attitude. You can't. You have to become an entrepreneur, and before becoming an entrepreneur, you have to commit. That whatever happens along the way, it's gonna work. You know, there's been bad days, Angela, as an entrepreneur. Bad days. Okay. And to be honest, probably even that bad. I was just working on my mindset, so these small problems looked like huge problems, and they probably weren't even that bad. But because I was still thinking kind of small, okay. But I learned, Angela, how to fail forward. When I first heard about that concept of failing forward, seeing failure as my friend, everything changed. Now big problems really see as small problems. Okay, so there's bad days on entrepreneur, but you have to make the commitment. Like I remember there was this one day, Angela, I was doing a seminar in my city in Florida. I had misplanned it. I had really done a bad job planning the event, I'll be honest. And it was a disaster. No one went to the event. I had brought a big speaker from another city and it just didn't work out, truly. And what was worse, Angela, is that it was the second time that it had happened to me. So I had not really learned my lesson the first time. And I remember that after the event, I went to bed so depressed. And it was the first time that I thought to myself, am I good? Am I good at this? Am I cut up to be an entrepreneur? And that's the scariest question an entrepreneur can ask. It's a haunting question. But I asked it because I was so depressed. But I remember, because of my personal development, I asked myself, if I want things to change, I got to change. If I want things to get better, I got to get better. No one else. Not the economy, not nobody. I got to get better. Why did I have that mindset? Education, personal education, book reading, podcasts. These things help me keep going. But why? Before all that, I had made the commitment, Angela, that no matter what happened, I was going to make this business extremely successful. I was obsessively committed. Because of this obsession and commitment, no matter what happened, it worked out. So that's something else that, you know, for the listeners and for the ones watching, commitment, but not just any commitment. Like you have to make a die-hard commitment. Like even the worst thing that can happen, even if you get depressed for a whole month, you have to go back and start again. So that commitment is definitely going to help you. I mean, if you're 100% committed, and you're diligent and you educate yourself, I don't see why you can't succeed. I haven't seen it happen. So commitment is everything.
Mm-hmm. Say, here's what has worked for me. So I have kind of this like invisible board of directors, which are people I consider mentors that I regularly go to for advice, to brainstorm things with, to kind of, you know, bounce ideas off of, and just to kind of ask for guidance in certain things when it came to hiring, when it comes to negotiating, you know, certain things, pitching projects, things like that. And that's been really helpful for me because even with all the reading, the YouTube, the podcast, the whatever, I still feel like it's impossible for me to know everything. There's always going to be somebody who's had a different experience, who's had more experience, and who can kind of share that with me. So that's been very helpful. Do you have something like that for yourself, or you have people
like mentors?
Yeah.
Like actual mentors?
Yeah, or just loosely speaking, they don't have to be like direct people that you call mentors, people that you regularly seek for advice and things like that.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. My whole life is based on mentors. I mean, there's some audios that I hear of people that I know, but they don't know me, that I hear every single day of my life. And they have no idea how much value they give me. And what I do sometimes is I copy them. I do. And in entrepreneurship, you can copy and they're not going to give you an F, right? That's the beauty of entrepreneurship. And I have, 10, 20, 30, 40 mentors. Of course, of those many mentors, a few I talk weekly, right? But absolutely, that's Angela, you gave another great point. As an entrepreneur, find a mentor that you like and copy them for a little bit and then develop your own style. For sure. Mentors are crucial. You have to have clarity in what you want. You have to have clarity. Clarity is power. The hardest thing sometimes is just to make a decision. That's all it is. And everything in life. And entrepreneurship is the same. Just make a decision. Make a decision. If you wanted that big home, like just to talk about something random, and it was your dream since you're 5 years old, just make the decision. And then figure out, after you make the decision, figure out how you're going to get it. Okay. And entrepreneurs are saying, make the decision. Make the decision. Why do you want to become an entrepreneur? Do I want to create a legacy? Do I want to give impact? Do I want to help my family economically? Or whatever the reason, make sure why you want it. And think bigger. Think bigger. Okay. Probably your plans are still too small than what you're capable of. Think a little bit bigger. And once you think a little bigger and you have clarity, make the decision and then figure it out. That would be definitely my last advice, is just make the decision, even if you're scared, and then figure it out.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming on the show today, giving some really, really great advice for people who may be watching and looking to start their entrepreneurial journey. I think starting is the hardest part. And I think people can definitely walk away from this episode and say, like, I know how to start now.
Awesome. Well, it's my pleasure really to be able to give value to people, and because I know how it is to be lost. So hopefully this podcast helped your listeners and everybody watching for sure.